to What's Up, horror fans? Pete here from The Lasser Cast with my co-host Danny J. Zoo from the Morning Zoo. We got a Superman logo behind us. What the hell are we doing? We are actually talking about Superman 3 today, but specifically, we are talking about this one scene which, for a young Danny Torkel and a young Peter Marsh, was just as horrifying as anything else in any horror movie we saw as a kid. So we're going to talk about Superman 3, specifically that scene, and I think we're going to talk about Superman 2025 as well. So Danny, do you want to go ahead and jump into spoilers and talk about this one scene from 1983?
Having just literally just finished rewatching Superman 3 in full for the first time in years, it's not only is that scene still creepy, and I called Charlotte in and I was like, I want you to watch this scene because this scene scared the hell out of me when I was a kid. And she's like, I could see why. That's really messed up. But watching it in the context of this whole movie, it is the most out of nowhere scary moment in movie history.
Yes.
There is nothing to set this up at all. There's nothing even close. And it comes completely out of nowhere. The villains, if you've not seen, let's put it this way, anybody our age who has seen Superman 3 knows exactly the scene I'm talking about. It is basically, if you Google scary moments in non-horror movies, this is probably at the top of that list. Anybody our age who saw this probably got freaked out by this scene. The scene at the end where the villain's sister gets caught in the supercomputer. Fun game, by the way. If you drink every time the word computer is said in Superman 3, you also will turn into a robot at the end of the all the shots of alcohol.
Yes.
And she just gets grabbed by a beam from the supercomputer and turned into a all-powerful metal monster.
Yeah.
Who is then hilariously defeated by Superman by him just kind of pushing her force beam back at her, and she just tips over and falls and is never seen again. So the whole build up to this scene, from her getting transformed into this mutant supercomputer machine woman with the friggin' blank eyes that open up right on the screen, to her being defeated is about 4 minutes, I think, of screen time. And man, it just comes out of nowhere, because for most of Superman 3, it is really bad slapstick comedy. Maybe the most unfunny Richard Pryor has ever been.
Right.
It's Christopher Reeve looking genuinely upset most of the movie. He looks angry, and and I'm sure you know a ton more of the background of this than I do, because you're comic books transformed, and you and Brian and Mike talk about all the big comic shows and movies. You're a much bigger comic book nerd, comic book super geek than I was. I especially DC. I was a Marvel kid to begin with, but I know just from looking at IMDb that Christopher Reeve basically blackballed this movie. He talked shit about it in his book, and he said that the only scene in the movie I think he liked was the Superman on Superman fight, the Clark Kent versus Superman fight, which is an interesting moment, but nothing gets explained everything is just so fucking weird and bad. Everything is just bad. You know, like
Yeah.
there are movies that are so good they're bad. Like and one of them is a Superman movie, Superman Quest for Peace. You can put on with some edibles, with some booze, and you can
Yeah.
have a great time watching Superman Quest for Peace with your friends. You can put
Right.
on Jaws the Revenge. We talked about Jaws the Revenge on this channel, and
Right.
we laughed hysterically talking about Jaws the Revenge. And it's a movie
Yes.
that, even though I fully acknowledge is god awful, it's fucking hilariously bad. But I could watch
Right.
it at any time because it's so stupid. It makes me laugh. This
Yes.
movie, I was getting angry watching it.
Yeah.
I actually I went to my mom's for dinner and I was just like I have to turn this movie off now because I can't watch any more of it. And
Right.
the whole time I'm watching it, I'm thinking, I haven't seen this in so long.
Hmm.
How the fuck does this movie have this terrifying moment in it at the
Yeah.
end? And
Yeah.
it just comes out of completely nowhere.
Yes. Yes. Danny, it's funny, right? Because we just did Jaws a couple of weeks ago for 4th of July. And one thing I've told you many times, and our listeners will know, is that like I've watched a lot of movies in pieces where they were just always on cable or they were on regular network television over and over again. And I think as a kid, Superman 3 kind of made more sense if you watch it in fucking pieces because you feel like, oh, well, the connective tissue is there. I just didn't see that scene. But when you watch it as a whole, as an adult, you're like, what the fuck? Like, how many different movies are they putting in here?
Those
What's really,
scenes, those
yeah,
scenes that you think are missing are not there.
right, exactly, exactly. Like, what's so interesting to me is I totally forgot the beginning of this movie. I saw this movie when I was a kid, right? I forgot that like it has this like kind of cold open with Richard Pryor on an unemployment line, and it's like shot like a real serious 1970s drama where the guy is in the middle of the city waiting online because he's trying to get unemployment benefits, and there's no like John Williams theme or going through space or the Superman logo. There's nothing like that. And then you're like, okay, well, this is cold open with Richard Pryor. He's going to be the special star of this movie, even though it's about Superman. Okay, but then what follows is like 10 minutes of like dialogue less slapstick comedy where like there's a blind man, he loses his dog, he eventually gets like a street paving machine, I think, that he's walking with. There's a couple of guys that just fall into ditches. There's like paint that falls off of a roof and drips on a guy's head. He opens an umbrella because he thinks it's raining. Then he closes the umbrella, and then the paint falls on his head, and then the bucket falls on his head. And everyone that has these weird slapstick moments, no one goes, "Whoa, what the fuck? This is so weird." Everyone just kind of goes, like that. And it happens for like 10 fucking minutes while they do the credits for the movie. And you
Which
see, like,
which
go
is
ahead.
the worst, I'm sorry, the worst credits I've ever seen in a movie of
Yeah.
like the image, like Christopher Reeve's name like flies into and then like fades away into a blind man's crotch as he walks by. I,
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
decision that was made in the making of this movie, from script to film
Yeah.
shots to
Yeah.
editing to effects, every decision is bad. And the
Yes.
only and I think, like you, I really do remember watching this movie a lot as a
Yeah.
kid because this was always the one that was on TV.
Right.
And this was also, as a kid, I don't remember a lot of the uh I mean, nobody in this movie knows anything about computers, and the movie is all about computers. Apparently computers were literally wizard devices.
Yes.
They treat computers in Superman 3 like they are Harry Potter spells. Like,
Yes.
there's a
Yes.
scene where Richard Pryor and his hands are on the keyboard, and it is so clear he's not typing anything. In fact, I don't know if you caught this, but when he types in message received, the word received is spelled wrong.
Oh
It's
God.
RECIE. So the filmmakers didn't even know that I before E except after C. Uh, Also,
Yeah.
they never make any mention at the beginning of the movie in this cold open where they effectively tell you this is not a Superman movie. This is an attempted Richard Pryor comedy.
Right.
They never tell you that uh, Gus, what's his last name? Uh,
He's
uh,
Gus Gorman. His name is
Gus
like
Gorman.
August Gorman. Gus
Yeah,
Gorman. Yeah.
they never
Yeah.
tell you that Gus Gorman is a tech genius.
Right.
He's just some schmo, and then he sees the back of a match thing, and it's like earn all the money you could ever want in your life by working on computers, and he's like, oh. And in the next scene, he's working at a computer thing where he's not doing anything. He's just sitting at a computer going like this. And I'm like, I'm like, wow, in 1983, the
Yeah.
general public had no fucking clue what a computer was. Like,
Yeah. I mean, at least the filmmakers didn't. Computers in this movie, to go along with your point, computers in this movie are able to control oil tanker ships and make them all go to the same spot in the ocean. Computers are able to affect the weather so severely that we get 250-mile-per-hour winds. I mean, what else do they do?
destabilizing the poor Colombian coffee industry.
Right. I mean, it's just such an interesting movie. It's such a train wreck, right? It's got 31% on Rotten Tomatoes. When you look at the behind the scenes, you see that Gene Hackman and Margot Kidder didn't want anything to do with this. There's speculation that they had issues with like the producers that had the rights to this movie, to Superman, and that's why they didn't want to be a part of it. Gene Hackman also said, like Lex Luthor always being the villain is kind of like a slasher that keeps coming back for every sequel, right? What's really, really interesting to me is behind the scenes, this is written by the same man who wrote Superman 1 and 2. And it's directed by Richard Lester, who essentially took on Superman from Richard Donner, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we have the same creative people. It's just that like there's a lot of replacing in this movie.
The guy who wrote this script, David Newman, I looked it
Right.
up. He's an
Right.
Oscar-nominated screenwriter for Bonnie and
Bonnie and
Clyde.
Clyde. Yeah.
How do you go from Bonnie and Clyde to Superman 3?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it is absolutely
Yeah.
mind-boggling that
Yes.
that person penned both of those scripts.
Yes.
It really is just what, like when I saw that, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Because
But
like to your point, that nothing flows in this movie.
no.
Superman is a total afterthought. He's a
Yes.
complete afterthought. The scenes with Lana Lang go on forever.
Mm-hmm.
They go on forever. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll tell you one positive about this movie. I mean, 1980s Annette O'Toole. Yeah. Uh, yeah. I like 1983 Annette O'Toole. So that's a
Same here.
positive. I don't
Yeah.
mind her being in this movie. But like,
Right.
though, I will say one good scene in this movie is the
Yeah.
scene where he's affected by the negative kryptonite or the weird kryptonite with tar in it, and he just decides he's not gonna go save the people on the bridge, and
Right.
he's gonna like creep on Lana Lang.
Right.
That's like a really like kind of scary moment, but they
Yes.
like undercut it immediately, and I and then they play it for comedy where it's like, wow, Superman actually showed up late and didn't save the day. Wow, that's like an interesting direction to go.
Yeah.
And then in the next scene, he's like, haha, I'm going to straighten out the Leaning Tower of Pisa. While
See,
these
see,
two guys in front of the most obvious green screen in world history are
right.
selling uh, Leaning Tower Pisa
Yeah,
statues.
dildos. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, that's what I always remembered as a kid. I always remember that sequence where he moves the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Of course.
The guy like throws it down, the statue down. He's like, "Fuck you, Superman!" And then later, Superman fixes it, and the guy just breaks all the statues of the corrected Leaning Tower of Pisa.
In a
Right?
better movie, that's a hilarious gag. In a better
Right.
movie, that is a great gag. In this
Right.
movie, it's just so it just adds to the weirdness of
Yeah.
everything. Like,
Well, so
yeah, go ahead.
the weirdness comes from a very specific thing. This movie's extremely inconsistent. It's extremely inconsistent. There's no sense of like time. We know by the end of the movie that essentially it's 3 weeks because they literally say it at one point. Like Lois has gone on a vacation for three
Yeah.
weeks. But things in this movie, they feel like either, oh, this is happening within a day, or this is like 2 months later. It's so inconsistent with the time.
In
Think
three so
again,
to you so yeah, again, in 3 weeks, because Lois is in the movie for literally one line of dialogue at the beginning. I'm going to Bermuda. That's it. Bye,
bye.
Margot.
Yeah.
Bye, Margot.
Right, right,
See you later. Um,
right,
and uh, so 3 weeks go by. In that 3 weeks, Gus Gorman goes from unemployed to having a computer job at
right,
this web company, um,
right.
creating, giving the giving. Oh, I forgot the guy. Who's the guy who did Office Space? Um,
Oh, what, the fucking creator? It's
yeah,
the guy who did King of the Hill, right? It's
yeah.
what the fuck? Is
Mike
it Beavis and
Judge.
Butthead?
Judge.
Mike Judge. Thank you. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it gave him the idea for the scheme of, like, the half pennies and funneling them into your account.
Right,
He then gets hired by the Websters to use his genius. Again, he's nowhere does it say he's a computer genius to build to again. He's just typing words in. He's like, change the weather in Colombia, and apparently that does it. Like, hit
right.
enter, and and
I
then
think at one point he has like a fucking wand for the computer. Like, he used to be able to touch screens with a wand.
yeah,
And I
he
think
has
he
like an
just like taps
eraser.
it. Right, and it does nothing. He literally just goes like this to the screen, and nothing happens. But yeah, you're like makes money come shooting out of an ATM for this guy. Okay, you keep going. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No,
Yeah,
but like, they're also able to then, in this 3 week period from scratch, they're able to build that supercomputer.
right.
Um, and apparently that's, that was all of that technology in the middle of a mountain. They were able to do that in about 2 weeks.
Yes,
And yeah, uh, everything that happens in Smallville, um, the every scene in this movie takes so long. Like, like, Superman should be able to put out a fire at a chemical plant in 30 seconds max. And
right.
apparently, like, he decides that the best course of action while a chemical plant is burning is to create a giant slide for the workers to slide down, and
Right.
then fly 5 miles in the other direction, freeze a lake,
Yes.
carry the frozen lake, and then throw it. Thankfully, it doesn't just crush the entire,
Right, right, right.
because it's a fucking solid now. No, it somehow breaks apart and becomes the rain needed to
Yeah.
save the day.
Oh, Daddy, I'm so glad that you fucking said that because he has this massive glacier. It would have sunk the Titanic, and he throws it on this chemical plant. It hits smoke, and it becomes rain. Like, it's just so bad. Oh,
Bonnie and
I,
Clyde. The fucking.
Bobby. But okay, so what is interesting about this, and this ties it back to our robot woman at the end, is what they intended for this movie. the original intention for this movie was wild as shit. They were going to have multiple Superman villains besides Lex Luthor be in this. One of them is a guy whose name is very hard to say. I don't know if you've ever heard of him before, but his
Mr.
name is
Mix. Is it the? I don't. I'm not gonna get it, but it's like Mr. It's no vowels, like Mr. Mixplix or something like that.
yeah. It's like I think it's like Mister Mixasplit. Fuck, I can't even say it either. But you know what we're saying. He's
Yeah.
voiced by Gilbert Gottfried in the Superman animated cartoon. He's an imp from another dimension. I believe it's the fifth dimension. I'm kind of putting my comic book reader card on the line there. I believe it's the fifth, not the fourth dimension. And he just kind of goes and harasses Superman. He was going to be in this. They kind of make a reference to him in the Superman 2025 movie when there's that weird fucking light in the background, and Superman says like it's an other dimensional imp. That's like a reference to him, right? Um, but he was going to be in this movie, and then the most important thing is Brainiac was going to be in this movie. Now, I heard a comic book creator once make a comment about Superman's rogues gallery. He said the bench is pretty thin or pretty. It's not deep. Like, what is it on a baseball team when you don't have a lot of talent on the bench?
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
you're not deep. It's not very
Yeah,
deep.
yeah, yeah.
You don't have a deep roster.
There you go. So Superman's villain bench is not very deep, right? You got Lex Luthor. Now, if we look at all the fucking movies that have had Superman in them, Lex Luthor is the bad guy in almost all of them, right?
It's
He's not the bad
Luthor
guy.
and Zod.
Pretty much, right? Doomsday is in Batman v Superman as well, but they just fucking take Zod and turn him into Doomsday in that. And Luthor is the villain in 2025 Superman as well. I mean, Webster in this movie is essentially just like the Gene Hackman Luthor as well, so it doesn't matter,
It's
right?
it's just cut and paste, and
Yeah,
I think you make a good point there because I never was a Superman guy.
yeah,
I appreciated the Reeve movies when I was younger. Part one and two of it. If you're a kid of our age, you grow up watching parts one and two. But I don't think they have the rewatch ability of some of the other comic book movies. Like
for
Burton's
myself.
Batman, I think is
Yeah,
clears, and I think to your point, Batman has one of the greatest rogues galleries. In comic books, it's
Batman
always
has the greatest rogues
yeah,
gallery in comic
yeah.
books. Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
you're only as strong as your villains. And the
right,
problem for me with Superman was that he's Superman. If he can stay clear of green rocks, nothing can ever kill him. So
right,
the fact that like his greatest villain is a tech billionaire, or
right,
like a criminal mastermind in Lex Luthor that never who doesn't have any superpowers, that
right,
that always kind of made it for me like, oh, well, there's never a challenge here. And like
right,
Superman 2 is great because it's you got Zod, you got the three, villains together with Luthor in the background. But like to your point, every Superman movie, like it's always Luthor. It's always Zod. And yeah, like uh what's the character who kills him in Batman vs Superman?
Doomsday.
Doomsday. Doomsday is really just tacked on the last 30 minutes of that movie,
Right,
and the villain in that movie is Luthor. So
right.
it, and here 2025, Nicholas Holt is Luthor, and yeah, there's a ton of other
Yeah,
characters, but
right,
Luthor is the villain. Whereas
right,
like every Batman movie is like, who's going to be the new Batman villain? Who like Matt Reeves does a Batman movie, we get the Riddler, and like a different take on the Riddler, and we get like
right,
a different take on the Penguin. When
right.
Nolan did it, we got Joker, we got Two
Joker,
Face, we got Ra's
Ra's
al
al Ghul,
Ghul, Scarecrow, uh,
Bane.
Bane. Yeah, so it's like you had in just three movies, you had five or six great villains to deal
Mm,
with
right,
all these great actors playing them. And it's
right.
like, yeah, like Superman. That's again what for me with Marvel was I loved the X-Men had such a great
Yeah,
from Magneto to Apocalypse,
Yep.
You know,
Sentinels.
the
Yeah.
Sentinels, and it was just like this never-ending army of the Sabretooth, Juggernaut, Mr. Sinister.
Mr.
Is like
Sinister.
it's so fucking cool,
Yep.
and
Yep.
to the point where it's 2025 and we haven't even seen a lot of these villains in movies. And it's like
No.
with Superman, I feel like every time I read anything about Superman, it's like, oh, well, this is going to be the Brainiac movie. This is going to be the Brainiac movie. This is going to be the
Ah,
Brainiac movie.
yeah.
And they've apparently they've been trying this since 1983.
I was gonna say we got the Brainiac movie. You know, it had to do with coffee beans in Brazil or Colombia or whatever. Like, what I'll say about Brainiac in this movie, essentially they make Brainiac show up at the very end, and Brainiac was supposed to be in this movie. This movie was going to have Brainiac and Supergirl too, and the way that Superman Clark was raised by the Kents, Supergirl was going to be raised by Brainiac, and he was going to be romantically in love with her. And I saw the description of this movie, the original description. I guess maybe they didn't realize that she is Superman's cousin, or maybe they just made her a different character, but they were going to make Superman and Supergirl fall in love in this movie. I don't know. But with Brainiac, everyone's so interested in him. He's in a lot of like video games, he's in animated stuff like crazy. What I will say in this movie's defense, there's many special effects that when you look back at them you kind of cringe because it's a different time. Special effects were different back then. It's not done by ILM. However, there's so much practical stuff in this movie just because there has to be. Like there's so many shots of Christopher Reeve like really fucking high up in the air coming down, and it feels it just is like so much more powerful because it's like, oh, this is actually filmed in real life. He's actually doing that. My point I'm connecting this to is the reason why that scene with the robot lady is so scary is because it's pretty much all practical except for the shit that she's shooting out of her hands, like and you know, her eye beams, like her makeup and like the technology that's on her and stuff. It's so scary because you fucking watch it get grafted onto this actress in real time. Like you'll see, Danny, when the thumbnail for this video comes out, I have that shot where it's just like the stuff's getting put on her face and she is horrified. Like this actress is barely in the movie, but she steals the show because
Yeah,
she's just like terrified. And then
it's
she and like yeah, and you mentioned it before. I'll stop talking in 1 second, but like the shot of her eyes, that's such a special shot for such a subpar movie, for such a lame movie. The shot of her opening her fucking white eyes after she's been turned into this thing is so powerful, you know?
yeah. I I I agree with you that see, I think that the reason that that scene also stands out so much is because while I agree with you about obviously the Reeve stuff, like where he's actually coming, like obviously being lifted up and put down, there there is so much really bad green screen in this movie. Like
Yeah.
having just watched Jaws 3D, like it it rivals Jaws 3D. Like there's a scene at the very end where he's like in
Yeah.
front of a boulder that looks like it's just like etched out of the set. Um there this scene like where he's choking himself, except he's really giving himself a neck massage that because he's like, except nothing is touching this part of the throat. Uh, and then I don't know. I get obviously like my favorite movie of all time. We covered it a couple weeks ago. Is Jaws, and
Right.
there is no green screen
Nope.
in Jaws. And whenever somebody says, "Oh yeah, but look how stupid the shark looks," I'm like, they built a robot shark and they put it in the fucking ocean.
Yep.
And so it's like that Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark came out in 81. Like,
Mhm.
and nothing in that movie looks bad. You know,
Nothing.
nothing looks, it's not like he's running away from the boulder and it looks like it's, composite shots. It
Right. Right.
he's running away from an actual fucking boulder. And
Right.
like, so 1983, I get it, it's 1983, but the effects really didn't hold up for me. And I think maybe that is why that scene is so scary, because it is very clearly done. And I think her name is Annie Ross, the actress.
Annie Ross. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. She's
She
playing Vera Webster is her name. Vera
yeah,
Webster.
she has that look of like terror. And it's something that's happening to her, like you could feel what's happening to her, because
Yeah.
and it's like it's almost like she's like and then all of a sudden she just like closes up, and you're like, oh fuck. And then when
Yeah.
she opens back up her eyes, it's that, classic shot. and
Yeah.
and it's this weird moment that exists in a bubble
Yeah.
of this mess of a movie.
Right.
And yeah, it's I don't know. I feel
See,
like I feel
I
like
feel like.
everyone our
Oh, go ahead.
age has those moments that scared the shit out of them. And I know that scene affected a ton of kids, us included.
1000%. Yeah. People, when they list movies that are like not horror movies, but they have very scary moments, they usually mention Large Marge from Pee Wee's Big Adventure. They mention this. Ghostbusters, it's kind of like, well, it is kind of horror to begin with, but they talk about the librarian from Ghostbusters, right? I think,
Goonies. There's
yeah,
some
yeah,
stuff
right.
in.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is that, like, this movie, it's just all over the place with tone, production value, the writing. It's just all over the place what they're trying to do. I think that one thing that lends itself to this scene, I don't even think they necessarily intended when they designed this supercomputer, because they're in this command center. They're like fucking playing like Atari, trying to shoot Superman with missiles, right? And then when they realize that the computer itself is like sentient and that it's doing everything it can to protect itself, they run out, right? Like they escape. And when they escape, they go through this very narrow doorway. And that narrow doorway, I don't think this is intentional, but that narrow doorway really gives that sense of like this is the inside of a computer. Like it looks like when you like look in the like the vents of your old desktop computers, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, that's the inside. It gives that vibe. So when she gets sucked into it, which even the shot of her getting sucked into it, you're already getting kind of creeped out because she's like this, and she's getting pulled backwards, which is always just kind of creepy to see no matter what. And she goes into this narrow thing, so you're like, oh, she's literally being sucked into a computer. And there's many different ways they could have shot that, but the way that it is shot really adds that, because it's like it's so like claustrophobic when that shit's being put on her face. It's just really effective, and like you've said many different times, it's so inconsistent with the rest of the movie. It's this like horror movie sequence in this goofy, boring movie, and even the little details, because they show her like her fingers and stuff, and there's all different like circuits and like nubs and stuff on her fingers. Like they put a lot of detail into that too, and that makes it really
And
effective
the
as well.
first thing that happens is you start to see these wires like go around her face. And
Yeah,
it just hit me. Do you know what that scene reminds me of? It's going to be a
well,
wild comparison,
do
but
it.
but I think it genuinely makes sense, and I'd actually be curious to know if they had seen this movie
Mm-hmm.
when they filmed that scene.
Oh, Tetsuo the Iron Man.
No, well, Tetsuo came out after Superman 3,
Oh,
but
okay. He was
it
inspired by
does
this.
it obviously has a lot of tie-ins to Tetsuo.
Yeah, yeah.
The Evil Dead tree rape scene.
Oh, when is Evil Dead the first one?
19
81?
It was made in 79, and I think it
Oh,
came out in 80 or 81.
okay, okay.
So
Yeah,
the
yeah,
idea of like a woman being pulled back by, like,
yeah.
there's a scene in the Evil Dead where the you just see the branches coming out and like
Mm-hmm.
going and touching her face and touching
Right,
her body. And
right.
that's what the beginning of that scene in Superman 3 reminds me of. Is like you see these like wires around her face, and it's she's being like attacked by this otherworldly force. She's turned into a monster as a result of it. Like
Yeah.
in the Evil Dead, the sister who gets attacked by the tree is the one who becomes the first Deadite. So there are weirdly a lot of similarities in these two, the way that they're shot. Like,
Yeah.
she's trying to run away from something, it catches her, it pulls her in, it surrounds her, it turns her into a monster. Yeah, I that just came into my mind as I was thinking about that scene. And
Yeah.
Evil Dead did come out before Superman 3, so it would be interesting if, like, in a weird way, Richard Lester was like, "Hey, I saw this weird horror movie.
Right.
Let's do that with a
Yeah.
computer."
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that on some level, someone on that film crew saw Evil Dead and was influenced by it. And it's kind of funny because then, like, Sam Raimi eventually became such a big comic book guy too, right? With like Spider-Man. I know that he was definitely inspired by like the Reeves Superman movies when he made Spider-Man.
Spider,
Spider-Man. Yeah. Are you saying it like it's a last name, like Nick
yes,
Spider-Man?
Barry Spiderman. You know,
Okay. Whatever you say, Danny Jesu or
yeah.
whatever.
Apparently, my name is Jesu now. Have
But I just there's a couple other things I want to talk about with this movie since we're kind of treating this like a review. But you know, we're in 2025. Superman just came out in the theaters, this new version, and everyone's raving about it. It is the talk of the town right now on social media. Um, there's a lot of people that are saying like this is the best Superman movie that ever came out. They're saying that they're comparing David Corn Sweat to Christopher Reeve. I think that Christopher Reeve as Superman is kind of the Superman standard, and I don't think that anyone might ever be able to replace him, which is kind of ironic because, like, I don't necessarily think that Michael Keaton is the definitive Batman. I love Michael Keaton as Batman. He's one of my absolute favorites. However, I would probably put Kevin Conroy from Batman the Animated Series, the voice of Batman. I'd make him the number one Batman, and then maybe Michael Keaton.
well, I mean, I think if you're doing live action, I think again, it
Mm-hmm.
depends. It depends on how old you are. I think
Yeah.
most people our age and older would
Mm-hmm.
say that Keaton is the definitive Batman, but I think a lot of
Right.
people, a lot of younger millennials might say Bale because of just because of the power of the Dark Knight movies.
Right.
Uh, I I've always made the argument that Keaton is easily the best Batman. Bale is easily the best Bruce Wayne. Uh,
Oh, okay. Okay. That's interesting.
I, that
I like
that
that.
that was my take. And if yes, I agree with you that Conroy is just the fucking best
He's everything.
animated.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I love
Yeah.
when it comes to Reeve. I again, it's weird for me to like. Did you see the documentary that came out about Christopher Reeve?
Where it's
And
like super and it's like slash man.
Super slash man, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't
And
see it, but yeah.
it was very hard to get through. It was great, but it was obviously very sad. But I loved. I think Reeve. The first movie is so iconic. Even though I don't love it, I think it's a product of its time, but it's completely iconic. And I think he just hits the character, both Kent and Superman, so fucking amazingly. Like the wink at the camera, everything about his performance is iconic. I think
Yeah.
Corin Sweat was so good though. I
Yeah.
loved Superman. I couldn't believe how much I loved Superman. I was shocked. Like 5 minutes into the movie, I was like, shit, I think I love this movie already. I was,
It is really good. I've seen it twice. We covered it on my other channel, Comic Books Transformed, if you guys want to go over to that. But with Reeve, it just blows my fucking mind, man, because like he plays this evil Superman in this movie, and that's another thing where it's like, okay, well, Superman is bad in this movie, but he really just kind of does like pranks or like mischief. Like we're not dealing with this evil Superman like Homelander or
No, he's
you
not.
know.
He's not evil. He's a
Right.
dick.
He's a Dick Superman. And it's funny because I remember the scene, like when he sees Laura Lee, who is like the girlfriend to Webster in this movie. I know there's a part where she's like on the Statue of Liberty and she's all sexy. And I remember that they have a little flirtation. And then at the very end, when he's cured, like he's like, that was another man. He's not around anymore. But
She
like
made it
he
seem
totally
like they did some stuff.
well, I no, but the movie makes it seem like they did some stuff.
Yeah.
First of all, what's funny about the framing, I love that I say this stuff and I'm in my mom's fucking apartment, but like when he flies next to her on the Statue of Liberty, there's this shot where like her head is essentially lined up with his super crotch, right? And he's like, you got to do something for me first. I'm like, am I watching a porn parody? Am I watching Superman? Right? And then they show him like getting on top of her in the bed. And then what's interesting about her is that there's a couple of scenes where she starts showing that she actually is like very smart and she's almost like doing an act for Webster, right? But like what's weird about this movie and the bad Superman, which is just like a part of this movie, is you don't really get the full John Williams Superman march like right in your face. You get a little bit of it when he like changes and stuff and helps people, but then when he finally cures himself after that junkyard battle and he flies up, then it like really kicks in. It's like really the Superman theme. And I remember like the whole movie, I'm just sitting there watching it like, oh, this is so lame. Why is this taking so long? This dialogue's horrible. And then all of a sudden that scene where he becomes Superman again, I'm like, oh, fuck, yeah, we're back, you know? And that just is lame again after that. You
Yeah.
know? Go ahead.
I always bring up when you asked about like Christopher Reeve being the definitive Superman. I loved I love Brandon Routh. I think he
Yeah,
got such a raw deal
sure did.
because they basically wanted him to play Christopher Reeve. And the
Right.
fact that he looks incredibly similar to Christopher Reeve allowed him to basically just be a great Superman in what was really just not a it wasn't a very fun
No,
superhero movie. There's like
no.
no superhero stuff in that
Yeah.
movie.
Pretty
And
dull. Yeah.
yeah, and so he was, I thought, a great Superman and a great Clark Kent, but he got like a movie that was too boring and not enough people liked. And then Cavill was, again, it's hard for me to judge Henry Cavill fairly because I like him as an actor and he looks like Superman, but
Yes.
I just hate almost everything about those movies. Uh, I,
That makes
I,
two of us.
the costume change, like they just went so out of their way to make him not to the point where, and I'll never forget. And I think this is why I loved the new Superman so much. I, I'm pretty sure in Man of Steel they don't ever say Superman.
Oh God.
I
Wow.
go back. I'm not actually recommending you go back and watch it, but they almost I'm pretty sure they go out of their way to
Yeah.
never actually call him Superman,
Okay.
and to the point where it's like a joke at one point at the end of the movie,
Mm.
and I'm like, wow, they don't even call him Superman. And then in the new one, it's like in the opening like crawl, they're like, and Superman let everybody know he existed 3 years ago. I was like, oh,
Right.
he's Superman.
Right. Right. Oh yeah. No, they say his name a lot in the modern one. They say his name a lot in this movie and in Superman 2. I think in the original they say it a lot too. Yeah, the Snyder stuff is so different from all the other stuff that we've been talking about. You know, there's such a different vibe. And I wanted to throw in one other observation, and I actually have to get going too because I have to get home in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
But what I noticed about these Superman movies, these 4 Superman movies with Christopher Reeve, is it's almost like it's a movie like about like a guy that knows magic, but people don't know magic. He's always in these scenarios where like someone's getting picked on, or he himself is getting picked on, and then when no one's looking, he like uses a little superpower to like get the advantage, right? Like there's one part where Lana Lang's son is just sucking at bowling, and everyone's like, "Oh man, he sucks so much at bowling, this little lame kid." And then like Superman or Clark pretends to sneeze, and he just fucking shatters the bowling balls when the kid bowls. You know, there's so many sequences like that where he just like randomly
Totally
does
normal
things.
occurrence that nobody reacts to.
Right. And there's like random stupid scenarios that he gets thrown into. Like Lana Lang's son is like looking for the dog and he hits his head
And
on a
then
rock.
somehow ends up knocked unconscious next to a rock while
Right. Yeah.
and he's also apparently a mile and a half away in the
Yeah. And these threshers are coming, and Superman's able to stop the thresher. But these movies are just chock full of these scenarios, and it's almost like a movie about a guy with magical powers, but then you have these like sort of global catastrophes, and they're usually brought on by like Lex Luthor doing something, or in this case, Richard Pryor with the computer. It's a different time, it's a different feel, and this modern Superman is very different from this because one thing that I think Brian brought up in our last review, our Superman review, is that Clark as Clark Kent is barely in Superman 2025. He might even just have like one scene, and if you count the scenes where he's talking to Lois and stuff, he's kind of just like Superman wearing Clark Kent clothes, you know. But that sort of goofy, bumbling Clark Kent, we only get like one scene of him in the whole fucking movie, you know. So it's just a different time, and this movie, watching the two of them back to back, Superman 2025, and then watching this, it's like, boy, have we come a long way, you know?
yeah. Yeah, I agree. I did not enjoy rewatching this movie,
Right.
but I think it was good to you know, for comparison's sake, and also in the spirit of a horror channel, to incorporate what is for many of us the scariest moment of our childhood that came from a non-horror film.
Right.
Weirdly, and again, the context is so fucking wild. Like, because this is effectively a really bad slapstick comedy, and then there's this just terrifying moment at the end, and
Yeah. It's worth.
her falling over in, into the abyss after like 2 seconds is, it's
It's
like
so
it just
stupid.
undercuts all the like oh my god, she looks so terrifying, and like she
Yeah.
like takes a bad step and slips, and that's it, she's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, this fucking nightmare horror. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I'm glad you made me watch it though, Danny, because it makes me appreciate modern comic book movies, and that scene is just something else, man. So if you guys haven't seen it, make sure you check out Superman 3. If you guys want, in the comments too, just let us know, what is your favorite comic book movie? What's your favorite Superman movie? And is Superman
What other
2025?
non-horror movie moments scared the shit out of you?
Hell yeah. And so Danny and I, we need to talk about what we're going to be covering next on the channel. We got a couple of ideas, but we appreciate you guys watching, and we will see you guys real soon.